Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We have a couple more people joining, so we'll get started in just a minute. But yeah, we really appreciate you taking your time today to come to the Career Spotlight. We know everyone's very busy, so we appreciate you, if you're taking time off of work or class to come, and hear Emilio speak today and share his career trajectory with you all. All right, so we are recording the session, just a heads up. So if anybody does need to leave early or if your friends were not able to attend, we can go ahead and share it out with them too, okay? So just let us know. Before we start this session, right, just some housekeeping things, right? As our presenter is going on, you can feel free to use the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask questions, but we'll also have some questions prepared as well. But again, don't be shy. Definitely today is about like learning, and asking questions and connecting. So if anything comes up, please feel free to either, message the whole chat for everybody, or you can message Carla and I directly and we can share the questions too. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and introduce everybody right now. So again, thank you everybody for joining. My name is Olivia De La O. I'm the director of the College Success Program here at Fulfillment Fund. So I see a lot of familiar names, not faces, because I don't see your faces on here. But I appreciate everybody for joining and taking time out of your day. And then we also have Carla here with us too, so I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. So great to see you all here in the space today. I'm Carla. I'm the career advisor. I also see a lot of familiar names. Feel free if you have the capacity to, show your screen. Please feel free and welcome to. Yeah, we're excited to have Emilio with us today, sharing his time and really just sharing his experience to his role. And I look forward to connecting with you all pretty soon after.
Okay, everybody. So I'm going to go ahead and give a brief intro of Emilio, and then I'll let him take it away. But yeah, so Emilio Alvarado, he is the Associate Director of Investments at DIV Industrial. So it's a commercial real estate investment and development company. He's responsible for sourcing new investment opportunities throughout the Western U.S. So very exciting job. Emilio is originally from Fullerton, California, first generation college student, like many of us in this room as well. He attended USC, where he majored in business admin with an emphasis in real estate finance. Over his career, Emilio has been involved in over $1.2 billion worth of commercial and residential real estate transactions. So again, really big role, really exciting role. So yeah, Emilio, thank you so much for being here with us today. So I'll hand it over to you and let you, take it away.
Perfect. No, again, thank you so much. Really excited to be here and spend a little time, and hopefully you guys can learn and take something away from this little presentation. So go ahead and share my screen, and then I guess before I start, let me just ask, just make sure you guys can see it. Give me a second. Perfect. Okay, can you guys see my screen? Yes. Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. So thank you again for the quick intro. So once again, yeah, my name is Emilio. I work for a commercial real estate investment and development company. And yeah, today I'll talk a little bit about the industry. Okay. So quick little background. So I did grow up in Fullerton, California, down in Orange County. I am a first generation American and also a first generation college student. So my parents come from Guatemala and Peru. I ended up, I guess, attending Fulton High School, and then went to USC, where I majored in business and real estate finance. After graduation, I started my career at a company called Center Square Investment Management down in Orange County, doing real estate. So again, buying and kind of managing commercial real estate. I was there for a few years, and then I moved back to LA to work for another company called the Carlyle Group. Again, pretty similar role, buying and managing commercial real estate, doing a little bit more of development there. And then a few months ago, towards the end of the year, moved back down to Orange County. So I'm now with a group called DIV Industrial, doing kind of mostly development. And I'll kind of touch on each kind of company, what they do, and try to give you guys an understanding of kind of just how the industry works. Okay. So I guess the first, question or yeah, I guess question I would ask is, like in what context do most people know real estate? I would say 9 times out of 10, they're going to say homes, either, house, be a condo, can be an apartment. A lot of times, it's a fair question. A lot of times I get asked, oh, like, are you a real estate agent? Do you work kind of like on the residential side? I'd say not really, but obviously that's a big component of real estate. And again, most people probably know or are familiar with the industry through that. Maybe someone in their family is a real estate agent, maybe a family friend. So again, super common. And then once you guys get a little bit older, maybe you start to look to buy a place or rent a place. And that's kind of maybe the realm of real estate where most people are pretty familiar with. And again, just a quick little definition. So real estate is just kind of the land and any permanent structure. So again, a building like a home or some other type of building on the land. So that's really real estate. And then I guess what I do, I'm on the commercial side. So what does that mean? I mean, some of the other things could be industrial buildings. That's kind of what I focus in now. So think of, products coming from China or somewhere else in the world, going to a warehouse, Amazon's leasing in, and then, you order something on Amazon, goes to their warehouse, and then all the products go to your house. It could be apartments. There could be apartments with 50 units to 300 plus units. Think of it can be kind of garden, something like this. Maybe it's just like 1 or 2 stories, or it can be like a high-rise building in downtown. It could be office. Again, most of you, or a lot of you might be working in an office space when you graduate. It could be something like this, or again, something more like a downtown, or something more suburban. Or retail, where you kind of get your coffee, your Starbucks, your Chipotle, get your nails done, get your Verizon, go to Verizon, stuff like that. So I'd say these are kind of the 4 main food groups in the commercial space, and probably outside of the residential, what most people think of when they think of real estate. And then on the commercial side, I'd say the definition is really properties used for business purposes that generate income through leasing and capital gains. Capital gains just really means like the appreciation. So when you buy something and you sell it later for more, that's kind of the gains there. So this is more on the commercial side. And then I guess to dive in a little deeper, there's even more. So hotels, it could be like a little motel, or it can be a hotel like the Bellagio in Vegas. It can be student housing. If you guys are in college, some of you may live on campus. A lot of times those dorms, or that's student housing type of commercial real estate. It can be storage. Maybe you've run out of room at your place and you need somewhere to store a bike or other stuff. So maybe you'll rent something out at a public storage, or it could be like a data center. So now that AI has become such a big big business, they need a lot of computers, a lot of I guess compute power. So now there's literally big buildings that just have a bunch of like just data and power. So that's also a type of real estate or commercial real estate. And then also just to kind of give you an understanding, I mean, over close to 3 million jobs are tied to commercial real estate, 17% of GDP. So it's kind of the way like the economy is kind of measured, have jobs in the real estate industry. And then when you kind of aggregate all the value of it, I mean, it's close to 20 trillion. So again, homes in California are really expensive. A house can run up to, over $1 million. So the commercial space throughout the US is 20 trillion. So there's a big market here. Okay. So that's kind of the overview of some of the product types is what we call them. And I'll give you guys a little overview of maybe some of the major players and kind of how the industry works. So as you can probably imagine, it all starts with this land. You may have heard like, oh, they're not making any more land, which is true. But yeah, it kind of starts with that, and then I guess it starts with somebody developing on the land. So these are some of the bigger development companies. So Trammell Crow, they can do office, they can do industrial. Greystar, they're one of the biggest apartment developers and owners. Related, they do some really cool projects in like downtown regions, could be Chicago, like New York City. And then I just little shout out for my company, DIV Industrial. So we do a lot of, industrial buildings. Think of, again, like Amazon warehouses. So these are the ones that are really the creators of commercial real estate. I guess another big component of the industry are the brokers. So I'd put these kind of in the category of like real estate agents working just for like your homes. So a lot of times agents will post a house on Zillow, for example. So it's kind of similar here where brokers are the ones who are kind of putting together the buyers and the sellers to really get that transaction going. So yeah, on the commercial sides, these are some of the bigger brokers. And then there's lenders. So again, pretty similar to when you buy a home. You're not going to buy it all cash. Usually, you'll probably get a loan or a mortgage. So same thing if you're looking to buy a building or you want to develop something. Oftentimes, you'll come to a lender, and you'll also get a loan for your project. So again, you might recognize like Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, Deutsche Bank, and PNC sometimes are more like commercial, but like there's a bunch of lenders who obviously work in the space. And then kind of the last major player I've included here are just the investors. So a lot of times too, like if there's a developer who wants to build, let's just say a new apartment complex, they usually don't have enough money to buy the land and also buy all the costs to develop it. So a lot of times they'll get a loan from a lender and then also go to an investor group to kind of round out and kind of get all the money that they need for the project. So these are some of the bigger investors. I used to work for the Carlisle Group, so just kind of using them as an example here. Okay. So those are some of the players, and then I just want to, I guess, kind of give you an example of how the commercial real estate industry kind of works, like in a real example. Again, just kind of tie up all the players and kind of show you how it really works. So here's an example of a deal that I worked on at my prior company. So in this example, there was a seller of land. So in the middle, here's just a picture of just raw land. And there's a broker, Collier, in this case, a company called Colliers. So they had a relationship with the seller, and Colliers went out to kind of look for someone to buy it. So again, kind of the way like real estate agents might post a house on Zillow, they kind of blasted this opportunity to a few groups. And in this case, there was a developer called DIV Industrial who ended up liking the site. They thought they could, build something and obviously be a good deal, good project. So they ended up buying it. Like I said before, though, a lot of times the developers don't have, all the funds necessary. So in this case, they were going to build 100,000, 115,000 square foot building out in like the Inland Empire, Riverside area. So again, Lovett had some money, but not all the money. So they came to me, that's me in a little bag. I wish that was me. That's, the company, looking for an investor and then also looking for a lender. I forgot the exact lender. I'm just going to use JP Morgan as an example here, since that's a kind of a household name. So yeah, in this case, kind of Lovett in partnership with Carlisle and with a loan from, again, in this example, JP Morgan, they were ready to build a project. So after about 12 months or so, they took the raw land, took the plans, and then, yeah, again, about 12 months, they were able to construct this building. And again, there's a lot of players, even out of the four that I mentioned, there's a lot of groups kind of involved in the industry, which I'll touch on a little bit after. But yeah, it's not just those. I mean, there's a lot. It could be, you got to work with the city, you got to work with engineers, you got to work with, people like just boots on the ground with like the cranes, really kind of think of like, people with the hammers really building these projects. So yeah, there's a lot of different players that kind of come into the real estate. So there's a lot of different opportunities there. But yeah, in this case, here's just an example of a project that I worked on. And then just to kind of finish what we call like the cycle here. So obviously I'm not with this company anymore, but they finished the construction and now Lovett and Carlisle are looking to sell it. So again, they went to a different broker, real estate agent called Lee and Associates, and are now looking to sell the building to a new buyer. So, and then hopefully they make some money, they'll pay off the loan, and then they'll work on another project. And that's kind of how the industry works. So that's an example of a deal and kind of a high level example of the commercial side. And then I'll just kind of quickly touch on some other roles in the industry. Again, maybe you're not that interested in brokerage or on the investment side or on the lending side. But yeah, maybe you have some interest in real estate. So here's some roles that maybe kind of fit more of an interest. So again, acquisitions, that's more like on the investing side, on the development side. So that's when you're really looking for opportunities, either existing buildings or just land to buy. Can be asset management. Those are the ones that once you own it, you're the one managing it, making sure the projects are on schedule, making sure that we have enough money for the deals, and just really kind of operating it and just kind of making sure like the investments being managed. There's the brokerage side. Again, that's kind of the real estate agents of the industry. There's capital raising. That just means like fundraising. So maybe you work for a company that's trying to raise money to then use to buy properties. So you could work for you can be like on the fundraising side where you're going out to different investors. It can be like a pension fund. It could be, like just high net worth individuals to kind of raise money for that company. You can work for a lender, like I said, on the debt side. So you can work for like a JP Morgan, and then maybe an investor will come to you asking for a loan. So that could be something you can work on. And again, some other roles here. There's kind of the appraisal valuation. So maybe you just work for a company where, someone just wants to know what they think their property is worth. So you're kind of the one appraising and, again, just trying to find a value for that. There's a construction and development side. I think this alone could be its own presentation. But again, there's just so much there. Again, you can be an engineer. You can be on the actual construction side. You can be a roofer. You can be a concrete person. There's so much there. And again, like on the engineer side, there's different types of engineers. There's civil engineers. There's like people who do like the electric work. So that could be its own presentation as well. But yeah, there's a lot there. There's a government side. You could work for, the city of Los Angeles or city of Commerce or something like that, where you're kind of the ones, kind of helping plan the city of new developments or redevelopments. There's a lot to do at the government level side too. There's investor relations. Maybe you're a little more interested on like the marketing or communication. Maybe you're majoring in that. So this is kind of more of like the marketing, where maybe you're kind of running the websites or putting together kind of, alerts or updates on how the company's doing and how, projects are doing. You could work for a nonprofit. There's a lot of companies now building, for example, like affordable housing, or in LA too. Like there's sometimes companies trying to figure out like little creative homes for, kind of the homeless crisis that's going on here too. So there's different things in the nonprofit space that's actually really, really interesting. And then property management. Obviously, a lot of these properties are big and are considered their own little businesses too. So you could work for like a leasing team. Once you look for like a new apartment, maybe you're the one who's kind of managing the property or kind of showing residents, units that they can lease. So yeah, there's a lot of different roles, and they're all obviously super important to kind of make the real estate, world work. I'm almost done here, so I'll just kind of touch on breaking into the industry. So kind of like 6 key things to kind of focus on. So real estate is a very networking heavy industry. A lot of times, jobs are just kind of, a lot of times jobs are not as formal as other industries. It could be somebody who you met, who really liked you. They're kind of looking for somebody to bring on board, and it can be like, and a lot of jobs are kind of given out like that. Or or kind of run like that. So networking is super important. So one thing I would say, and we can touch on this kind of in the Q&A too, is just kind of reach out to people. Obviously LinkedIn, I'm sure you guys are familiar with this program or software, but yeah, LinkedIn, super important tool, super useful tool. And don't be afraid to just kind of reach out to folks, kind of get information on what they do, their company. And again, from what I noticed, especially when I was in college, is people are always super willing to help out college students. So yeah, definitely don't be afraid to kind of reach out to folks. I'd say join a real estate club. If your college has a real estate club, I would definitely say to join. They're free. You can meet kind of your future peers, or like peers that obviously in your school, and then people who you might be working with down the line as well. They're great resources. A lot of times they have really cool guest speakers or programs to kind of help you, get to that next level in the industry. And if your college doesn't have a club, a lot of times there's some like professional associations. Two, I'll just say there's like the Urban Land Institute, ULI, or like NAOP. These are different organizations that a lot of times can probably give out, scholarships or a super discount for college students. Um, Again, if you're any interest in real estate, I would just take some classes that interest you. Again, like maybe you're a little more of like you like the construction side. Take like an intro to construction. Maybe you're kind of like the investing or the lending side. Maybe you can take some like finance or like business classes. So just kind of figure out like what you think you would like in the industry and at least take like an intro course to see if it's, something you want to really pursue. Another thing too is like, yeah, your resume and interview prep. Yeah, I'd say just try to get your resume buttoned up and get some practice in on the interviews. I would say, and the next slide I'll kind of provide some resources, but yeah, there's a lot of websites that just kind of have like interview questions that are super common in the space. And there's obviously a lot of resources online to kind of help out with like resumes and cover letters. USC has a really good or link to some templates. I'll provide it on here too. So I've used that a lot too when I was in college. And then last two is just like internships. I'm sure you guys obviously are familiar with this. So a lot of times during the summer, but sometimes they have kind of during the school year too. Super helpful. And try to just learn as much as you can here and just get different exposures. I had a couple internships when I was in college, and it kind of helped me like see what I liked and didn't like about real estate. And then last, just on like the full-time positions, real estate is very as need. They hire kind of on a as needed base. So other industries sometimes hire, months, if not like a year in advance. Real estate is very much like, all right, there's a need, we're going to hire immediately. So yeah, this is kind of the way it works. So if you are interested and you're not really seeing jobs available, don't get discouraged, because a lot of times there could be a week where there's none, and the next week there's a bunch, and they're super urgent, or hiring is super urgent. So it might be a very quick turnaround on the hiring side. And then lastly, here are just some examples I found on LinkedIn the other day, like just live opportunities. So you could, in theory, apply to these today. I'll just kind of quickly touch on what these would look like. So the top one, the JP Morgan. So that would be like on the lending side. So again, you could work for a lender, in this case, JP Morgan. So again, companies will come to you looking for like a loan. This will be kind of analytical, seeing if it, would be a good loan, if it's in a good market, stuff like that. So that'd be a really good opportunity. Again, it can be multifamily, like property management. So again, like apartment property management, super important. You're the ones kind of running the properties day to day, making sure, there's no leaks in the roofs, making sure the property's kind of running smoothly, stuff like that. Leasing consultant, again, when you're looking for an apartment, a lot of times you'll interact with a leasing consultant to kind of help you. They're the ones kind of touring you the property and ultimately kind of getting you that lease. There's a brokerage position with JLL. So again, they're like the real estate agents. So again, this will be very kind of sales oriented, and I think brokerage is a super good intro into real estate as well. So that would be a good opportunity. And then Rexford has an internship here with investments. So this is a position where you'd be the one kind of like looking for buildings to buy, similar to like what I do. And yeah, just some resources. So again, USC has some good templates online. LinkedIn Learning, so LinkedIn has like its own little like educational platform. Don't think it's free, but again, like super helpful if there's something you want to learn that maybe your school doesn't offer. And then Siri Analyst and Ventures in Commercial Real Estate. These are two, especially the last one, resources that really help me. And again, some of these have free stuff, some of them don't, but just a lot of information on like what is real estate, like how do I break into it, and then maybe glossary of like different terms, and then yeah, just really good resources, especially once you're like starting like the recruiting and interview process. And then yeah, I'll kind of end it at that, and then yeah, hopefully a little educational. Yeah, I'll open up to any questions, and yeah, thanks again for the time.
Awesome, Emilio. Thank you so much. That was very informative and helpful. And honestly, I want to plug an event that we have coming up for our students, right? You mentioned resume review, LinkedIn being very important, networking, learning about internships. And we have an event coming up, students, Picture Your Perfect Career Day, which we're going to go over all of that, right? Like the students are going to be able to meet with volunteers, get their resume reviewed, practice their networking skills, and make those connections. So thank you for bringing that up, right? It's all the things that we want the students to take advantage of, right? Especially right now, right? The job market is tough. So the more that they can prepare themselves and practice all these skills, the better. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, so I do have some questions for you, a couple things
Sure.
that came up. So taking it back, right, to the beginning of your journey, talking about being in college, what was that like for you, right? Learning about your potential major and career choice, and what did that look like? Exploring that major and career, and yeah, just from the beginning, how did that look in your college journey, being a first
Sure.
year?
I guess to start off in high school, again, it's trying to figure out like what you like, what you don't like. Knew from the bat, I don't like science. There wasn't going to be a doctor, wasn't going to be a chemist. So kind of ruled that out. Always kind of like the business side of things. Very personable. Um, always kind of, growing up, you kind of think, oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur one day. So that was kind of like the intro to like kind of getting in the real estate side. Took some economic classes like in high school, so thought that was really interesting to me. And then on the real estate side, again, like my exposure early on was like real estate agents, homes, which I always thought was really, interesting. And then when I came to college, I got some exposure to the commercial side. I joined or at least like attended like a real commercial real estate club meeting. Really like the people that I met. One thing about the industry that I really like is that everybody is, really passionate about it and they all really like what they do. A lot of times too, like there's not a lot of turnover where someone goes into real estate and they end up doing something completely different. Like people really like the industry and like once they're in it, like they like to stay in it. And a lot of times, like I can be at dinner with friends who are in the industry and we'll obviously like chat about our personal lives and then kind of talk about work. It's just something that like we really like. So that was another thing about it. So yeah, I kind of mixed a little bit of like the business side, the investment side, and I also like that it's tangible. You might hear that that word kind of come up in real estate where there's people who do like stocks, investing in hedge funds and stuff like that, where a lot of times it feels like they're just investing money in some like fake market where real estate, like you could obviously see a building, you could walk in the building. So a lot of times too, like people who like the industry kind of like the tangible side of things.
So for you, it's somebody who, right, is a people person, right? You would say that you gotta like that part of it, being able to meet people, connect with people, and then right, want to see those outcomes. So that
Yeah, I would say yes, but again, like if you consider yourself a little more like a little more reserved or like introverted, like not to say you can't find something again, like there's the asset management side where you're not really dealing with as many people. Maybe you just want to like manage a property. Maybe you're on the construction side. So like I know I kind of touch on like a couple kind of main roles, but yeah, I'd say there's so many like obviously different roles, but yeah, I'd say generally it's a pretty like outgoing kind of personable industry.
makes sense. So when you were preparing yourself, right, you had mentioned you had a couple internships. Did you have any mentors that you had connected with as well, or other people along the way that were able to give you some insight?
Sure. So I'd say also, again, when I got on campus, didn't really know a lot of, connections. I'd say like my biggest kind of flexible connection was like a family friend that like owned like a restaurant, right? I didn't have like any friends or family that like own their own business or like, real estate business or anything like that. So it's kind of like coming to campus, just trying to like learn what I can. I probably could have started off a little more like efficient my freshman year, but like it took me like a little bit of time, probably because of like the lack of mentorship, honestly. But by like my sophomore year, I felt like kind of got a grasp of what I liked. But yeah, I'd say on the mentorship side, um, I'd say yeah, super important. I think I have mentors now. And I think one thing looking back is like don't be scared, don't be, like discouraged to just kind of ask questions or like even just ask somebody like straight up like, hey, I'm interested in kind of what you do. Like, would you mind like kind of being like a mentor? It could be, official, unofficial. And I'm telling you, like people really like to help out college students. So it's just kind of a matter of just asking.
Yeah, I think that's what we try to tell our students too, as much as hearing it from us, right, is one thing, but hearing it from somebody else, right? Like, yes, people are always willing to help people who are interested in their career and wanting to, get their foot in the door or just curious, right? People want to share about what they do. So I hope the students can take that away, right? Like, it's definitely nerve-wracking meeting someone you don't know, but yeah, they're in this position because they want to get more exposure about the industry and people like to, talk about themselves, right? So if you ask questions,
Yeah,
do
they definitely do. So yeah.
yeah. So you had mentioned, right, when you first started out in college, right, that first year, you're like, not really sure. How did you do? You mentioned you went to clubs and things like that and talked to people, but was there anything that you wish you would have known starting out in college, like right out the gate, that you feel like would have been very helpful?
Yeah, I'd say a few things. One, again, like most schools will have some sort of like club day or like career day where you can just kind of walk on campus. There's different booths of like different clubs, or like again sometimes like the business school for I'm just gonna use the business school for example. They might have like the consulting club, the investment club, stuff like that. Early on, I would say just attend, even if there's like a small interest, just attend. Doesn't hurt. Like worst case, like again, you'll kind of cross off a career that you don't want to do. Best case is something you want to do. Maybe you meet a friend. Again, it could be another peer, it could be a teacher or whatever. So I'd say just early on, just go to as many kind of clubs, just kind of really figure out what you want to do. Don't be afraid, again, don't be afraid to reach out to teachers. They're usually a great source or resource. Um, and then a lot of times too, I mean, I didn't really think about this until later, but like, especially if the professors have been there for a long time, there's they taught students who are now, maybe a few years out of college in these careers. So a lot of times these teachers have a lot of good connections too. So if you can reach out to a professor saying, hey, kind of interested in this, do you have like any kind of old students kind of in the field? A lot of times they might. So it's just kind of a matter of just again, just ask. And again, I'd say that's like the number one thing. Again, early on, I was a little, yeah, either embarrassed or just kind of discouraged to just kind of ask for like help or ask questions. But yeah, that's one thing like strongly consider people doing.
Yeah, I think as right, being in college too, I would forget about that too, right? Like our professors are teaching us, but that means they're experts, right? And they have connections and they know people and they've been doing this for a long time. So it's more than just like the academic piece or passing the class, right? It's really picking their brain, what they know, who they know. Yeah, and not forgetting that it's not just I need to get an A or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think early on that's what I thought. Oh, like they're just my professor, just like very like academic, but like again, they a lot of times stay in contact with former students who are now, like up pretty high up in their company. So yeah, definitely use your professors as a good resource.
Mhm. And like you said, if nothing else, for a letter of recommendation, another
Yeah,
connection, right?
absolutely.
It's always good to connect with them. Was there ever a point in, your career journey that you doubted your choice or you were like, I don't know what I got myself into? Is this what I really should be doing?
Um, Not really. So I'd say fortunately for me, I kind of graduated like right before COVID. So like the job market was kind of okay. And then just like at the time, like the companies I worked for, things were just kind of like ended up being pretty like okay for me. That said, I think prior to, I guess, getting a full-time position, I think the one thing that was a little annoying about commercial real estate was what I was saying is it's very as need. Where like I had a lot of friends who, again, it could be people doing like a master's program or going to like different fields like consulting, law, whatever. A lot of times, a lot of my friends were getting their jobs, months in advance, where I was, kept applying to places and just not finding things. And then there was 1 week, I remember 1 week, nothing, and the next week I had basically 3 offers. So again, real estate is a super as need. It's just kind of a weird timing type of industry. So maybe at that time I was like, oh, maybe I should have found something that, like I could have gotten a job earlier with. But yeah, if as long as you just kind of keep pressing people, keep applying. And again, like things open up. Yeah, just kind of make sure you keep your head up and don't get discouraged.
Yeah, that's the hard part, right? Like you can apply to 100 jobs, right? And if you just need that 101 right person to
Yeah,
say yes and
100%.
give you a chance, right? So it can definitely be hard to keep that motivation, especially like you said, you see your peers, got this job, I got that job, LinkedIn said this, LinkedIn said that, right? So it can definitely be, right, you're comparing yourself, so which is
Yeah,
hard, right? Social media is everywhere, so it's
yeah.
constantly seeing people's updates. Um, so I'm glad that you really liked your industry and you stuck with it. But how early did you start preparing for applying for jobs and really start that concrete preparation?
Yeah. Again, I probably could have and should have started earlier. Again, I'd say earlier the better in general. But I'd say I probably like my like spring of sophomore year in college, or maybe like fall junior year. That's like when I started like really getting into it. I took my sophomore year, I took like just like a finance internship, not real estate related. And then after that, I got a real estate internship, and then from there on, I started committing to the industry. Um, but yeah, I would say again, like if there's any interest, I'd say the clubs, and then honestly, just kind of going through some of those like resources that I provided, like they have really good information on like the interviews, kind of like the processes, like what is like an interview, like a commercial real estate like interview look like from like start to finish, from like job posting to offer. So yeah, just kind of getting ahead of those, and just kind of making sure you can at least understand the basics. That's gonna, that's gonna be super helpful.
And each industry is so different, right? When you're talking about interviews, and I think that's lost sometimes on students because we don't typically talk about that until you get to the interview stage, right? So again, early preparation is key because then you can figure that out and what you need to prepare.
Yeah, I'll say like the first couple interviews I probably bombed just because like they'll ask me something and I just didn't have like a great response or great question. So yeah, again, just if you can do some sort of mock interviews with, a peer or again, professor or whatever, that could be super helpful. And then yeah, just trying to get ahead and at least understand of like what type of questions they may be asking you.
Yeah, not just the landscape, but also just like the format, right? Is it a group? Is it an individual? Whatever that is. Yeah, all super important. Um, can you talk a little bit about like your typical day, right? What does it look like to do your job? Or maybe like a typical week, right? Highs, lows.
Sure. So my job's a little different now, but I'll talk about like when I kind of as an analyst is what they call like the first year or so. Um, so more like on like the investing side, it's a lot of, I guess, like financial modeling. So trying to see if like, investment of a real estate investment would be like a good investment. Like, would it be a good outcome? Is it in a good market? Is it a market that, really needs this property, or are there like a bunch of vacant buildings that look just like this and you're not going to find like a tenant? Is it like in yeah, is it in a good market or in a bad market? So there's a lot of kind of like market analysis, a lot of financial analysis. a lot of, I guess, like presentation materials too. So like PowerPoint, I didn't think I was going to use a lot of PowerPoint, but like there's a lot of that. So you can put together like materials for your boss, for your investors. You'll put together, it could be 10, 50 page kind of what we call just like decks of this, like of these things, just kind of with a lot of information. So it's a lot of that. I think just one thing that's what you really learn and spend a lot of time on, it's just really trying to formulate like a thesis of like, okay, like what 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 are the pros and cons of this physical building? What are the pros and cons of this market? Should we invest in this or should we buy the building down the street? Like there's a lot of like little nuances like that where early on you're just trying to like really understand. But yeah, I'd say kind of early on, it's a lot of time spent like in Excel, especially like if you do more like on the investing side. So a lot of looking at the numbers, trying to see if it's a good investing, look at some of like the like comparable assets, what we call to. So like looking at like other properties I just sold or just leased, trying to see again, like, are there a lot of on the industrial side, are there a lot of companies moving to your market? Or on the apartment side, are there a lot of people moving to your market? Like Phoenix in Texas, you might hear like, a lot of people moving there. So those could be markets that are really good for like housing. So yeah, it's a lot of that.
So that's the analyst part of it, right?
Yeah, more like the analyst side of things. Again, like on the construction side might be a little different. Might be like you might be more on the field. Again, like touring properties. You might be like again working with engineers and architects. So on that side, you might be out of the office a little bit more. On the brokerage side too, like you might be just meeting with different sellers and different buyers. So those jobs tend to be a little bit more like out of the office. But yeah, I'd say kind of early on, like your first year or two, you're probably going to be like some sort of like analyst is what they call them, either brokerage or on the investing side.
So there's levels to it, right? You're not jumping in right away doing exactly what you think you're gonna do, right? There's some growth.
Oh
That's all.
yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, like a lot of times too, like analysts, even me, like you think you know a lot until you get there and then, you'll get humbled, but like you'll learn as you grow.
And in this type of field, is there a lot of like training that happens on the job? I mean, it sounds like it. You're learning
Yeah.
a lot as you go.
Yeah, I'd say early on too. The one thing, like in hindsight too, is like, if you're interested in the industry, and if you are obviously like fortunate to have like a few different options, just making sure I would probably prioritize, the company or the group that just has like the best like mentorship program or someone who you think could really kind of help you grow. Because I think early on, I think more importantly rather than like money or anything else. It's really like, okay, if I join this company for a year or two, is my boss or is like my direct supervisor gonna like, is that person gonna care about me? Or are they gonna want to help me like grow as a person? Are they gonna like train me and like really spend time to kind of help me like understand things? So I'd say that's super important. Unfortunately, like my first job, I had that. So that's one thing I would definitely kind of urge students to prioritize.
Yeah, it's fit, not just the role, but the company, the culture,
Yeah.
right? It's all very important, right? You're spending majority of your day at work or with colleagues, so it's really important that that part is a fit too, and it's sustainable and you see growth, right? The
Yep.
job market's very different now than it was 20, 30 years ago, right? You're moving and making moves, right? So you have to see, is it worth it for me to stay here? Or am I going to make that move and, make more money or whatever it is, right? So
Yep.
very important to think about too. It's more than just getting the job, but what does it look long term, sustainable wise, things like that. So, yeah.
Yep.
Super
Yep.
important. We have a question in the chat here. So one of the students asked, what do you think are the most crucial skills for this role? I'm sure you've spoken with many candidates who know how to do the job, but in your view, what sets a high performer apart?
Yep. Again, great question. So crucial parts of the role, and again, I know the industry is super kind of broad. I'll kind of stick to more of like the investing brokerage, like lending side, just because again, that's um what I kind of interacted with more. I'd say just again, someone who's kind of like willing and eager to learn, and then have some sort of like analytical skills again, like on the financial side, kind of like on the again accounting, finance side of things. And then also like on the market side. So someone who, am I considered like, in my point of view, someone who isn't just gonna like do the work, but like will kind of spend a little extra time to kind of like understand like, okay, why are we doing this? Like, why is this a good investment? So kind of taking that extra step. I think that is what really going to set you aside from other peers because kind of growing up or like the few years I've been in the industry, what sets people apart is going to be like those folks that kind of take the extra time to really understand what they're doing. And then high performers, so I'd say it's partially that again, just spending a little extra time. You'll kind of hear in the industry as well when you're starting out is like first in, last out. It's just kind of part of the culture too. So you kind of want to be like the first one in the office, last one out. And I guess one one thing that somebody told me too, like literally my first day was, well, if you spend an extra 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes after work, I mean, that's an extra hour a day. That's an extra 5 hours a week. That you could be like, again, using that time to read articles, kind of going back and reviewing things that maybe you didn't have enough time to review during the day to kind of really understand things. And then, after spending that little extra time really starts to compound your growth, and just starts to put you in a better position. So I'd say, again, crucial skills is someone who's, again, pretty detail oriented. Again, just wants to learn, and then likes likes like the development investment side of things, and has some sort of like financial like analytical skills and kind of market skills.
And that makes a lot of sense, right? You're able to show that you care, you show that you're, keeping up with trends and things like that, right? So all important in the workplace, especially in this type of field that you said it's fast paced. You're constantly having to move when things are moving. So it's important to showcase that you have that capability. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Let me see. Another question that I have for you. It sounds like, right, there's a lot of transferable skills, right? It doesn't just have to be one major, but is this a field where unless you are coming in like with a certain type of major, you're gonna have to do some more preparation, or is it really like, hey, you've shown the internship skills, all of that, your major doesn't really matter?
Yeah, I would say generally it doesn't. It definitely helps. That said, the reason I hesitate is like there's a lot of people, a lot of folks that I know, either my level or a little above, a little below, who literally majored in like history or something completely not related. But again, I think as long as they kind of come in, maybe they do like some trainings on their own separately, like as long as they kind of come in with some understanding. Again, I wouldn't say this industry is like super, super like hard or technical. But like as long as you kind of have like like some sort of understanding of like the Excel models and kind of understanding like how to value things. That's what you need. So you could in theory be like a history major, want to transition to real estate. Maybe you take some of these kind of like online resources, like those classes or courses that I learned, and kind of get the understanding. Maybe you're kind of networking, to kind of like pick people's brains is what we say, and just kind of like hear about like what people do like on a day-to-day basis, kind of like learn more that way. And then so maybe instead of going straight to like a investment job, maybe you start off in the brokerage job, because that tends to be a little easier to get a job kind of starting off on. So there's different I guess like somewhat criterias, but I wouldn't say you absolutely need a major like business or real estate or anything like that.
Really is about the preparation, right? The interest,
Yeah.
you're showing that you're taking that step to understand the industry and everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
super important. So, okay. Let me see. We have another comment, I think. Oh, okay. So one of the students says, I go to UC Berkeley, and I'm sure it was the same for you at USC. Getting into some clubs is really hard, right? If you don't make it into the club, what would you suggest you do to stay in the same pace? So I think you kind of mentioned it, right? Some other training courses, but anything in particular that you've seen you can't get into a club?
Yeah, was gonna say, maybe it's just maybe Berkeley just does their clubs a little differently. I know at USC, like it was kind of like each semester, generally they're pretty just kind of free to enter. Maybe again, maybe Berkeley's they're a little set up a little differently. But yeah, I would say totally like, again, the internet is such a great resource now. There's a lot of different, programs, like educational programs online. Um, I would say like, yeah, you can definitely learn on the side, like some of like the tools that you'll need as like for like an analyst role. You don't necessarily need to do it in the classroom per se.
As long as you have something to show that, yes, I am learning and I am taking
Yeah,
this.
I'd,
Yep.
I'd say that. And again, like I'd say the biggest thing would probably just be like networking and doing some like informational interviews. Again, I think as a college student, you learn so much just from talking to folks that are, in different roles and just kind of like learning about what they do like on a day-to-day basis, et cetera.
Yeah, you can only learn so much, right, from paper or online, right? It's really talking to people or like these types of discussions, right? And getting to learn what it actually is. What does a job actually look like? Yeah, very
Yeah.
important. And I guess the last question that I have for you right now, Emilio, do you still have more like career goals and aspirations for yourself? And where do you see yourself going to next?
Yeah. I'd say also, um, the industry can be pretty entrepreneurial. The firm I'm currently at right now, started 3 years ago. Um, the founder, I guess, is somebody who I knew from my first job. We worked together. He was on the development side, I was on the investor side. So he ended up kind of spinning out of his prior company to start this. And I guess kind of being here, it's been super interesting. And it's kind of like it was really good to kind of see how a new company starts. So um, I like to say I'm still pretty young, so who knows, maybe in like the next 5, 10 years, maybe me and some um peers or friends might want to do our own venture. So that could be something that I could see myself doing in 5 to 10 years.
Awesome. And it's, yeah, everyone's got goals and aspirations. So I hope the students too understand that, like, yeah, once you get that job or that dream job, right, there's still more to come, right? There's still definitely more to do. Awesome. Well, thank you, Emilio. Any last words for the students or any last pieces of advice that you want to leave them with? And then students, right, if any last questions, please use the chat.
Yeah, feel free to ask me a question then. I can also send over just like the little presentation I sent to, has some of the links to some of the link websites. Yeah, I was gonna say just again, like early on, um, didn't really know a lot about the commercial side, so there was a little bit of a learning process for me. Um, but I think once you're kind of in the industry, I think it's super fun. I see myself in it for probably my entire career. And yeah, hopefully, even if there is a little bit of interest, I would encourage folks to just, look into it a little bit, maybe take one class or reach out to one person just to kind of learn about the industry a little bit more. Yeah, no, I think I'll kind of leave it at that. But yeah, if anybody has any questions, my email will be on the PowerPoint. So yeah, feel free to reach out.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, thank you so much, Amelia. We really appreciate it. This was great. Thank you for all the advice and the insight. I know the students came away with a lot. Yeah, we really appreciate your time. And students, thank you so much for joining us. We can send out the recording and the slides. So if you do have any questions, reach out to us or you can reach out to Emilio as well. But we thank you everybody for joining us. Yeah, and have a good rest of your evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.